Hello, I am Amanda Stevens. I am a study coordinator for the course study in North America and the United Kingdom, and our purpose for this video today is to briefly go over the study design for the course study so that you can decide if it's something that would fit in your office and a project that you would like to be part of. The intention of the course study in the long run is to help improve the scientific understanding of adolescent spinal pain. Adolescent health in general is an area that is lacking in healthcare information compared to many other areas. And with adolescent spinal pain, we do know that there are a lot of adolescents who experience spinal pain, and we know that adolescents who have spinal pain are more likely to become adults with spinal pain, but there's a lot that we don't know. We don't know how it is impacting them on their daily lives as adolescents, and we don't know if there's any specific prognostic factors that might help us to see who are those adolescents that are going to recover and live happily ever after, and who are those adolescents that are going to go on to become those chronic or recurrent spinal pain patients. And so those are really big questions to ask and to answer, and it will take really big study to answer them. And so we need to do a feasibility study first to make sure that our study design will indeed help answer those questions. So that's where we're at right now. This is a feasibility study. Within this feasibility study, we are hoping to learn how easy it is to recruit practitioners like yourself, how easy it is for those practitioners to screen and invite adolescent patients, and how likely those adolescent patients are to answer all of our questionnaires. So that's really the big purpose of this feasibility study, for which we are hoping to get 45 adolescents in each cohort. The other 3 cohorts in Australia, the US, and Canada have already started, and the UK is the final project to get underway. And when I say we, I mean an international collaborational effort from multiple universities and funding organizations that are all working together to make this project possible, and we really do truly hope you'll join us. If you do choose to join us, then you get to send me an email and I will send you this link, which will take you to the chiropractor's consent form. Once you sign this consent form, then I get to add your name to the patient's consent form, to the adolescent consent form, so that they get to select you as their chiropractor, and we make sure all the questionnaires go to the right people. So before I go through the study design, we're going to skip right to the punchline here and talk about the ask and what you get for it. So what we are asking from our chiropractors is that they screen and invite their adolescent patients if eligible. And then we also ask them to complete a baseline and a final report about 3 months apart. For doing so, they will get a £40 gift card voucher after each report that they complete, and you'll also gain access to some exclusive continuing education content that looks like a really great lineup. It's a really great resource they're putting together for you. From your adolescent patients, we are going to ask them to complete a baseline questionnaire and then answer 14 days of daily texts, which are just 1 to 3 questions, and then weekly text questionnaires, which are usually just 3 questions or maybe a little bit longer on those ones, and then an exit questionnaire at that 3-month mark, about 12 weeks later. For your adolescent patients, they will get a $20 gift card voucher after they complete the baseline questionnaire and after they complete the exit questionnaire. So what is the study actually going to look like in your office? Well, the first step is to screen all of your adolescent patients. And the goal is to screen every adolescent patient who goes through your doors, of course, so that we capture those who are eligible, but also because that does reduce bias if we make sure that we invite every eligible adolescent. And it also will tell us, too, that even if somebody wasn't eligible, why weren't they eligible? Were they not eligible because their pain had been going on for longer than 6 weeks? Are they not eligible because they're coming in with ankle pain, not spinal pain? What is it that makes them ineligible? And then that way we get to learn a little bit more about the patients that are going into our chiro offices, which is really great. The screening tool is online and it is really easy. It only takes about 30 to 60 seconds to complete once you're used to it, once you're familiar with it. It can be done by either the chiropractor or office staff. And it's going to ask them if they're coming in for spinal pain or something else, although it's okay if there's something else going with the spinal pain, as long as that spinal pain is there. That spinal pain needs to be ranked as a 4 or above out of a 10 or 11 point scale from 0 to 10. And if it started within the last 6 weeks, there's a few other criteria there that we'll go through in detail in the longer training video. But this is what it looks like in a nutshell. If the patient is eligible, a QR code and a link will pop up right there at the bottom. Those can be provided to the adolescent patient, and then they can go straight to the consent and baseline from there. If the patient is not eligible, it will also pop up to say that right at the end, this patient's not eligible, and then you can still submit the screener and move on from there. Whether the patient is eligible or not does not change your care of the patient in any way. You will proceed with your usual care, including any discharge or referral as appropriate for the next 3 months. If the patient is eligible, then as I mentioned, the QR code and the link will pop up at the end. With the QR code and the link, it will take you directly to the patient's consent form. With the patient's consent form, we need the adolescents to sign that consent form, but there is a space for both adolescents and a guardian to sign that form. In an ideal world, we would have both of them do so, although it is deemed appropriate for an adolescent to be making their own health and study participation decisions. Once they complete the consent form, then it will go directly to the baseline. The baseline is the biggest ask of this study. On the baseline questionnaire, it's going to ask them a little bit about themselves, and then mostly what their experience of pain is. So it's going to ask them how their pain is impacting their studies, how their pain is impacting their sport participation, their sleep, their stress load, how are they coping. We really want to grasp the idea of how pain is impacting adolescents. It's mostly, these questions mostly come from standardized outcome assessment tools. We've just put them all together in an online format. And most of our participants take between 10 and 15 minutes to complete that initial questionnaire, depending on how fast they can read and click. That initial questionnaire should be completed within 24 hours of that initial consult and answered as in how they felt prior to that initial treatment. Similarly, as soon as that adolescent patient completes their baseline questionnaire, then the chiropractor will be sent a baseline report. This baseline report is much shorter than the adolescent's questionnaire, but is going to ask some clarifying questions about their pain complaint. And it will also ask for a Baton hypermobility score and a fingertip to floor distance. These are the only two things that we're asking that you need to actually do in office. I have created some YouTube videos on how to perform these, and I also have a handout for the hypermobility score in our resource folder, so we can help you with those if it's not something you're familiar with. Once you are familiar with them, they are very short and easy to add to your exam of your patients and can be useful measures. Really what we're looking at here is hyper or hypomobility one of those prognostic factors in terms of this patient's recovery from spinal pain. Once you have completed your baseline report, you get to forget about it for the next 12 weeks until you get sent the final report. Whereas your patient is going to be sent weekly questionnaires for the first 2 weeks, daily questionnaires for the first 2 weeks, and then weekly for the remaining weeks. These questionnaires usually have 1 to 3 questions on them. They're super quick, mostly asking them to rank their pain on that numeric rating scale or asking them about their recovery, if they feel like they're getting better or worse or staying the same. It's a really quick thing for them to do, and they can do it right from their phone. Those get texted to them. After 12 weeks, the adolescent is going to be sent an exit questionnaire. That exit questionnaire is about half of the size of that initial questionnaire. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the adolescent participant will get a $20 gift card voucher after the completion of each of those questionnaires. The chiropractor will get a final report sent out after 12 weeks. This final report is going to ask you about your care. It's going to ask how many weeks they were under care, how many visits they had, how much it cost. And it's also going to ask a little bit about what kind of treatment options were used during your visits. You will get a $40 gift card voucher after the completion of each of your reports as well. And that is the course study in a nutshell. You can send me an email at amandastevens@parker.edu with any questions. I truly hope that you will consider joining us in this research effort. Have a wonderful day.